Joining us from Halifax is Dr. Paul Erickson, an anthropologist and author of a book on graffiti. In Toronto, we're joined by City Councillor Fred Beavis, who doesn't like graffiti, and by Now Magazine editor Michael Hollet, who does. Good morning to you all. Good morning. Let me ask you first, Dr. Erickson, what we know about the history of graffiti. How far back do we go to find the first evidence of graffiti?
As far back as the beginning of writing. In fact, some of the best-known studies of graffiti have been based on graffiti in Pompeii, so it's at least 2,000 years old.
And is it basically the same throughout the centuries?
Very much the same.
What does it do? What's the message of graffiti over the years?
The message of graffiti outside, that means not in toilets, seems to be mainly, I was here, I want to be known, this is what I have to say. So it's a grab for attention, I think.
Okay. Mr. Beavis, what's wrong with that?
What is wrong with graffiti?
Yeah.
Well, I think when you start infringing on other people's property, be it public or private, without permission, it is something that should be banned.
All right, so it's just that they don't get permission, that's what you object to?
Well, I mean, if they get permission to, like some of the temporary hoardings that we put up at the present time, and we invite some of the school children to come in and put some graffiti on with permission, it's an expression of art as far as the children are concerned. But when we have somebody with a $5 bomb and they come over to a building that possibly a marble front, and they put "ban the bomb" or something on it, they've made their expression, but they've destroyed some property.
But what if they just put their message or whatever it is on that same hoarding that the children do? That's not art?
Not without permission, no.
Okay. Mr. Hollett, how does the artist community think or feel about graffiti?
Well, I think they see it as an important expression of artistic and political expression. I think the anti-graffiti thinking is a wrong-minded thinking. It suggests that somehow thinks that if we get rid of graffiti, we somehow have a clean, pristine city. It's just not that way. We have all kinds of images out the people that encounter whether they want to or not. Ugly buildings, odd types of advertising, and these are, some people find it acceptable, some don't. I think we should be as embracing as we can.
Dr. Erickson, is the idea of graffiti more to get a message across, say something, or is it an attempt at artwork in various places and times?
Well, that really depends on the motivation. Some people do, I think, co-opt or preempt graffiti by making it art, and it's art, but that to me isn't graffiti. I call graffiti writing that shouldn't be and isn't welcome, and that's, I think, what the alderman is concerned with.
In other words, exactly the sort of things that Mr. Beavis complains about are what, in your opinion, is what graffiti is all about.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Does that make any sense to you, Mr. Beavis?
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because if we just finish painting an underpass, as we have around Girard and Carla, and then someone comes up with a $5 bomb, a black bomb, and starts putting something on the newly painted underpass and defacing it without any permission. They wouldn't get permission anyhow, because it costs us thousands of dollars to clean it up. As we're doing right now, we're putting up $50,000 to clean up graffiti, and this is the taxpayers' money.
Okay, Mr. Hollett?
I think you just gave an argument there for not doing it. I think it is a strange way to spend money. I think I'd rather see $50,000 going to artists to make art rather than get rid of art, frankly. You know, in fact, you should read some of these walls. There's a lot of ideas start on the fringe, and they start on walls, and 20 years later they're political legislation.
Do you know much about the artists, Mr. Hollett, since I assume that's the word you'd use for the people who do graffiti?
Artists and political theoreticians.
Are they, well, we'll come to the political theoreticians in a moment. Are they people who want to express their creativity on walls rather than canvas for any particular reason?
A wall is just a very big canvas. You know, and it's these are people who want to express themselves.
Do any of them go on to become professional artists?
Oh, very many. It's a very fluid process. What things that are on the walls of buildings one week are on the walls of galleries the next.
I'm told there...
Don't agree with that.
There's apparently a Mr. Herring who has started doing graffiti on subways in New York, and if there's any city that's famous or infamous for graffiti, it's New York.
Infamous.
Okay. His stuff is now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Does that get any message across to you, Mr. Beavis?
It doesn't get a message across at all. When we start to face in public or private property, and they want to make it legal, then the next thing it's going to be on your churches, your synagogues, the city hall, the Board of Education buildings, the schools, and you're going to give them a free expression when we'll do the same in parks. We'll allow them to have parades. They can express themselves in a lot of different ways without defacing somebody else's property.
All right. Dr. Erickson, is it defacing? Is that what graffiti is all about, defacing public property?
I think most graffiti is written by people who know that they're doing something wrong. So in that sense, yes. Again, it depends on the motive. If a person sees graffiti as art, then it's art.
Yeah.
If not, not.
Is it true that when you get to the political stuff, most of the messages seem left-wing? You rarely see right-wing ideology expressed in graffiti?
That's absolutely true of Halifax, although Halifax doesn't have very much political graffiti. Toronto might, but only 2% of the graffiti I discovered was political, almost all left-wing.
All right. Now, Mr. Beavis, if you're going to spend $50,000 in your city to clean up this graffiti for the Economic Summit, if you spend the $50,000 and it's all gone, and it pops up 24 hours later, what have you achieved?
Well, it's the same thing as a snowstorm. You have a snowstorm, you clean it up, it costs you $1 million. The next day, the sun starts to shine. You've spent $1 million, you got nothing for it. But in the city of Toronto, where we're noted as a clean city, we're not like New York, and God bless us, where the subways and the rest of it are all covered with graffiti of all types. We're a clean city. We're noted as a clean city. We want to keep it as a clean city. We'll allow them an expression if they want in parades and parks. We'll give them a poet's corner if they want, or whatever they want to express themselves.
If I understand Mr. Hollett correctly, you're saying that graffiti on walls can be very much a part of a clean city.
Yeah, very much. Maybe not part of a sterile city, but certainly a clean one. And I think that graffiti is it gives information to people. You know, and I think it's very. I think we've been arguing. It's a very relative situation. People have been arguing about as long as there's been graffiti, people have been arguing about what is and isn't art. It's the same kind of thing. You know, I think we talk about what makes Toronto work. One of the things that makes Toronto an exciting place is that it is the ideas that just surge through this city, this pulsating source of divergent views. And I think basically anything that moves in a direction towards bringing a uniformity to ideas in a city is a wrong-minded thinking.
Dr. Erickson, since you've studied this thing for so many cultures over so many centuries, any record of how effective cleanup operations are when it comes to graffiti? I suspect that back in Pompeii, people are trying to clean it up at one time, too.
Well, that's difficult to call. I think sometimes if you make graffiti respectable by calling it chic, that's the kiss of death. Some people do things because it's not respectable. But on balance, I believe it's a very hard thing to stop because my experience is that people do it because they want attention. And if you call attention to it, more will be done. It's very difficult to stop once it gets going.
Go ahead.
People do it to express themselves, I think, not to get attention, not just for attention. You know, I think it's easy for us here on national television to talk about how easy it is to express oneself. We're being given that opportunity right now. The majority of people in this country don't get that opportunity, and they're hungry for ways to express ideals that are passionate and real to them.
Mr. Beavis, we just have a few seconds left. Did you never have the urge to take a spray can?
I don't know a city that doesn't allow people to express themselves any more than the city of Toronto.
But you've never wanted to take a spray pan and spray no to graffiti on Mr. Hollett's wall? Or
if someone did that to me in my house, in a private residence, I'm afraid to see what would happen to them.
Okay.
They're very unlikely to.
Gentlemen, we have to go. Thank you all for talking with us. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.